All right, in this video, we're going to talk about the fundamental theorem of calculus, and then we're going to talk about the second fundamental theorem of calculus. Okay, so we've almost really done this, to be honest, just because we went from 4.1 to 4.6, and it showed up in the U sub, so I kind of talked about it, but it's really a very big theorem of calculus. It's one of the most important, and it really has to do with just plugging in the bounds. Tomorrow we're going to talk about area, but what is happening here is when you integrate, you are actually finding the area underneath the curve. So for example, let's say this went from A to B, and let's say we had a rectangle here. Certainly you don't need calculus to find the area of this rectangle, but we actually, if we integrated this curve, let's say that it's this one here, let's say f of x, it's just the horizontal line. If I integrated f of x from A to B dx, it would actually give me the area under the curve. Now again, we don't need calculus for that, but when we have a curve like, let's say this one, let's say that, we'll call that g of x, okay? There's no geometric formula that we can use to find the area, so what we do is we integrate. So we'd integrate from A to B, and then g of x dx, and that would give us the area under the curve between the curve and the x-axis, okay? But again, we'll get to area Tuesday, Wednesday. It's 4.2 and 4.3. So right now we're just going to practice plugging in the bounds. So it's going to be the upper minus the lower. So this would give us 3x, and then we're going to go from 2 to 5. So it's going to be 3 times 5, and then minus 3 times 2. So you get 15 minus 6, which is 9. This one is 1 dx. So when I integrate 1, I just get x. So it's going to be x. I'm going to go from 3 to 6. So it'll be 6 minus 3, which is 3. For this one, we've got x cubed over 3. And again, we're going to go from 0 to 3. 3 cubed is 27. Divided by 3 is 9. So 9 minus 0, which is 9. This one, we've got x to the negative 2/3. So when we integrate, you raise it up by 1. So you get x to the 1/3. You divide by the new power or multiply it by 3. And we're going to go from 1 to 8. So it's going to be the cube root of 8. And then the cube root of 1. Which would give us 6. And I think I wrote this wrong. This is actually negative 1 here. So negative 1. So this becomes a negative 1. So we're going to get 6 plus 3, which is 9. For here, we've got 5x to the 4th over 4. And we're going to go from 0 to 2. So 2 to the 4th is 16 times 5 over 4, which is 20. So 20 minus 0, which is 20. And again, I'm going to reiterate, is what you're doing is you're finding the area underneath the curve from 0 to 2 of our function 5x cubed. Okay? This one is going to be, so this is x to the negative 1/2. So raise it up by 1, you get x to the 1/2 power. Divide by 1/2, times it by 2, and you're going to go from 4 to 9. So I'm going to 2 square root of 9, and then square root of 4. So we're going to get 6 minus 4, which is 2. All right, a couple more here. Remember, 1 over x. We're going to come back to this again in the last couple of sections just for practice. But I'm going to say this is 3, the integral of 1 over x dx. So this is ln of x, so 3 ln of x. And we're going to go from 3 to 6. So it's going to be 3 ln of 6 minus 3 ln of 3. Or we could say 3 ln of 2. Because we can condense. So just to go over logs a little bit, if you have 3 ln of 6 minus 3 ln of 3, I'm going to take out the 3, and we get ln of 6 over 3. Remember, when it's subtraction, it's division, so we get 3 ln of 2. All right, 2e to the x is just 2e to the x, and then we're going to go from negative 1 to 1, so we get 2e to the first minus 2e to the negative 1, so we get 2e minus 2 over e for that one. 3 to the x is just, you rewrite it, divide it by ln of the base, and then multiply derivative, or divide by the derivative of the top, but it's just 1. So it's going to be negative 1 to 2. So we're going to get 9 over ln of 3 minus 1 over 3 to the minus 1 is 1/3, so 3 ln of 3. And then here we've got x to the negative 2, so go up by 1, you get x to the minus 1 divided by negative 1, and from 1 to 4. So we're going to get, let's see, so it's negative 1 over x. So negative 1 over x from 1 to 4, so we get negative 1/4 minus a negative 1, so plus 1, which is 3/4. Okay, so real basic fundamental theorem. Again, not hard to do, but understand what you're doing is finding the area under the curve from the bounds. So from like, negative 1 to 2 or negative 1 to 1, 3 to 6, you're finding the area of that curve between the curve and the x-axis. All right, so this is the most powerful theorem in calculus, okay? Because so what this theorem does is it allows us to find the derivative of an integral. So it really takes, both aspects of calculus, right? We either derive or integrate, and it puts them together. So it's an interesting theorem. It's very easy. This is one of the easiest things we're going to do all year. You just have to be aware of it. So I'm going to kind of prove it to you. So let me show you an example here. So let's say that you wanted to take the derivative of, let's say, from 3 to x of t squared dt. Now, we use the second fundamental theorem of calculus. A lot of times you can't integrate something. That's a common theme. Okay, we do a lot of things in Calc 2 that we can't integrate. We do things in place of it to get close to an answer, but this is easy to do. So I'm going to use this to prove it. So first I'm going to integrate t squared. So we're going to get t cubed over 3, and then I'm going to plug in the bounds. So 3 to x. We're going to get x cubed over 3 minus 27 over 3, so minus 9. Then I'm going to derive this with respect to x. So this becomes 3x squared over 3 minus 0, which gives me x squared. So this is a pretty simple problem, but the point is I want to show you an easier way to apply the second fundamental theorem of calculus. First off, recognize it. It's when you're taking the derivative of an integral. Okay, again, they undo each other. They're inverse operations. So, and you can also tell when, so this is asking us to take the derivative with respect to x. The problem is this is in terms of t. So when we integrate it, we drop the x in, we get a function that's in terms of x here, and then we could derive it, okay? You literally take this and you plug it in for that, and that's your answer. That's it. Okay, there is a caveat to it. I'll do it in another example, but you literally take this top here and you plug it into here, okay? Now, if you look here, this is the extended. Now, for the AP exam, and I'm going to do this, I was tutoring somebody in college this fall, and they had to know this one. So I'm going to just address this one as well. For what we do in AP Calculus, this bottom bound is always a constant, which is important because you'll notice here when we took the derivative of this, it went to 0. Okay, so this bottom will always be a constant, and then this is usually x squared. It could be anything in terms of x. This one here is showing us that we have an x on the top and the bottom. So really what you're doing is, let me do this easier one first. You're dropping in this x to the t, so you get x squared, but you're timesing it by the derivative of the top function, which is 1, to get x squared. So let's say it was this, d dx, integral, let's say it's x squared, 3 t squared dt. So we drop in the x squared for the t, but you're going to times it by 2x. So it's going to be x to the 4th times 2x, or just 2x to the 5th power. So the proper way to do this is you drop in the x for the t, and then you take the derivative of the top piece, okay? That's what we do in AP Calculus. This one is saying you drop in the g of x, you drop in the h of x, but then you take the derivative of each of them. Okay, so we're going to do an example here, but again, this is one of the easiest things to do. You just have to recognize it. So again, you can recognize it when you're taking the derivative of an integral. A lot of times you can notice it when maybe these two don't match up. That's kind of an indication that we're going to do second fundamental theorem. All right, so here we go. All right, so this one, they want us to integrate f of t. So notation, you can think about it as the little f as the derivative. When you integrate it, you get big F. So this could actually be f. I'm actually just going to integrate this. So I'm just integrating f of t to get big F. So it's f of x minus f of negative 2. That's the first fundamental theorem of calculus. Okay, and then I'm going to take this is what g is equal to. Then I'm going to take the derivative of it. So g prime would give me f prime of x minus 0 because that's a constant. So really what I could have done here was just this. So g prime of x equals f of x. Okay, I'm just taking that x, dropping it in, times it by the derivative of the top. So something like this, it is simply just 5x cubed minus 4x plus 1, times it by 1, we get 5x cubed. All right, for this one, so we have a bound here. So we're going to plug in. So we're going to drop in. So we get f of 2x. But then you want to take the derivative of the top, which is 2. Put it here, and then it's going to be minus, plug in the bottom bound, x squared, and then we're going to multiply the derivative of the bottom, which is 2x. Now again, yes, most of the time you're going to have a constant here, which is why we don't do the second part of it, because when you take the derivative of a constant, it goes to 0. So we get 2f of 2x minus 2x f of x squared. And then for this one, again, they're asking to find the derivative of this. So when we derive this, we're taking the derivative of this. So it's the second fundamental theorem. I'm just going to drop in the 4x squared for the t. So we're going to get 1 plus, and then 4x squared to the fourth. I'm going to times it by the derivative of 4x squared, which is 8x. And then minus 1 plus 6x to the fourth. And then times the derivative of the bottom, which is the 6. All right, so here we have a couple of properties that we need to address. So these have to do with integration. So some of them are common sense here. They'll make more sense once we do particle motion. But for example, if you're going to integrate from, let's say, A to A, since we cover 0 ground, the answer would be 0. For this one, so normally when we integrate, we go from low to high. So we've got, let's say, negative 3 to 4. On occasion, it's backwards, 4 to negative 3. If you have a calculator, you can plug it in. Doesn't matter the bounds. But sometimes, again, with particle motion, which we'll do at the end of the chapter, you have to make sure that it goes from low to high. So we flip the bounds. So when you flip the bounds like this, we want to make sure that we flip the sign of the integral to make it negative. Okay, that's the most common one here. And the rest are just sort of common sense. I've talked about this from the beginning. Try to take out the constant, makes things a little bit easier. And then here you could break up integrals, which is not necessary, but sometimes it makes things a little bit easier. So here's some properties. So this one's saying f of x plus g of x. Again, we could just separate. So in this case, you'd want to separate just because of the information that they give us. So we're going to go from 2 to 6 of f of x, and then plus 2 to 6 of g of x, and then we're just going to plug in the values. So they give us 2 to 6 of f of x, which is 10, and then from 2 to 6 of g of x, which is negative 2, so we get 8 for that one. Same thing for here, we're just subtracting them, so it's going to be g of x first, so you get negative 2, and then minus the integral from 2 to 6 of f of x, which is just 10, so we get negative 12. Here you could take the constant out. I'm a big fan of that, so take out the 3, you get 2 to 6 f of x dx. When we integrate, 2 to 6 of f of x is 10. 10 times 3 is 30. And then for this one, two to 6 of g of x minus f of x. Yeah, so this one's going to be negative 12. It's the same as that question. All right, for this one, they give us 0 to 5, 5 to 7. So they want us to go from 0 to 7. So we can say from 0 to 5 plus from 5 to 7. So we're going to get 10 plus 3, which would be 13. So we're going to go from 0 to 5 of f of x, and then plus from 5 to 7 of f of x. So 13. 10 plus 3 is 13. This one, we're going to flip it around. So we like to put the lower on the bottom, this on the top. So we're going to go from 0 to 5. That makes this become negative f of x dx. We know f of x from 0 to 5 is 10. So negative 10 for that one. And then for this one, this one's important. 5 to 5. So we're going to say that it's 0. And then here we're going to take out the 3. 0 to 5, and then f of x dx. So 3 times 10 is 30. Okay. All right, the last thing we're going to cover is average value. So first off, here's the formula for it. I'm going to explain it in a second here. This is kind of like the mean value theorem for integrals. So, all right, so what the average value says is that if you have a curve, so let's say we have f of x, and I want to find the area of the curve, let's say between here and here, we can integrate from a to b f of x dx. That gives us the area under the curve, between the curve and the x-axis. What this theorem says is that there's a rectangle with a specific height, so let's say right here, we'll call this C, that if I find the area of this rectangle, it's going to be exactly the same area as the area underneath the curve. Okay, so if I want to find the area of this rectangle, we'd say that this is f of c. So I could do base times height. So we'd have b minus a. So that's your base times the height, which would be f of c. That's equal to the area of the rectangle, which is also the same as the area underneath the curve. So it's equal to a to b f of x dx. So if we want to solve for f of c, it's going to be, if I bring this to the other side, we get 1 over b minus a, the integral of a to b, f of x dx. Okay, so for right now, it's pretty straightforward. It's just going to ask you to find the average value. We're going to apply it to particle motion. At the end of the chapter, when we talk about average velocity or average acceleration, we're going to use this formula for it. So let's do this one. It says find the average value. So we're just simply going to integrate. So we're going to integrate. So it's 1 over b minus a. So I'm going to change this to 0 to 2. So 0 to 2. So it's 1 over 2 minus 0. We just integrate 0 to 2. And then we're going to get 3x squared minus 1 dx. So you integrate, you get 3x cubed over 3 minus x. We're going to go from 0 to 2. So that would give us 8 times 3. 24. So 24 over 3 minus 2, and then minus 0. So this could be 3, a 6. So 18 over 3, which is 6. But then it's over 2, so I have to bring this back in. Okay, so 6 over 2, which is 3. Okay, in terms of particle motion, I really just call this a fancy slope formula. As if we were to integrate velocity, let's say v of t dt from a to b, 1 over b minus a. When you integrate velocity, you get position. So you get s of b minus s of a over b minus a. So that is really just a formula for slope. All right, you guys, I posted the homework on Canvas. It's in the textbook. So you need to click on the link in modules. That'll take you to the textbook. And then you can check your answers on Calc Chat.